AI apocalypse, are contact center agents facing extinction? So let's start, Marianne, with you. Do you believe that AI is leading us toward any sort of extinction of CX professionals?
Well, the provocative answer would be yes, of course, in about 25 years or so. I believe that there is a huge advantage in embracing the AI. But as we heard earlier, unless we can get it to some sort of empathetic interaction, the contact center and the customer care area will not be getting out of work, not at all. If anything, it gets more work. There's nothing more frustrating than getting an answer from a bot that absolutely has nothing to do with the question you asked.
100%. Oliver, how are you seeing it at Telefonica? What's your view, and maybe a projected timeline?
Oh, it's difficult, but I'm on the side of Marianne. You will find use cases you can solve with AI very easy, and it's take only 1 or 2 more years and you solve it. For example, you have you want to change your address and you take the telephone, then we can transcript the voice into the text, and then we can understand what the customer wants, and then we find in our self-service knowledge what is to do, and we transcribe it back so that we have the voice to the customer. This is the contact. It's solved, great, but we didn't have sell something. And this is the point, because we need the touch points with the customer to sell our products. And for selling, we need emotions, we need empathy, we need credibility. And that is what I think, and there was the side of Marianne, we will have in 20 or 10 to 20 years. When I see the video in the beginning, where the bot, the video bot, speaks with us, this was great. But it was not an interaction, it was only a video. When we have an interaction, and I feel in love with this man or woman, and will leave my wife for him, then we have reached it. But I think it needs some years.
So before you leave your wife for AI, Emmelie, let me come to you. We're going to come back to this idea of sales and emotion, because this is one that I think is at the forefront of people's minds, that AI isn't up to scratch yet. Before we do, at the Quality Group and in your role as Head of Customer Experience there, what's your opinion on the AI apocalypse and contact center agents?
So I do think it will be very fast. So in the next 5 years, there will be definitely a shift how agents will interact. So I don't think there will be as much first-level contacts anymore with a real agent, but there will be a shift in like second level and third level. So people might be even starting to program the AI, how it is for customer service, and also be more expertise within, like, for example, carrier investigations. So we will have way more specialists when it comes to that. But we will definitely not use it for everything anymore. So it will be more like first-level requests, like cancellation. This needs to be very fast, especially at our company by now, since the warehouse is working super fast. So I think for that, AI will be definitely useful.
Mm-hmm. And Santiago, AI apocalypse, are they coming or going?
How I see AI is a way to support the evolution of contact center agents, how the role of a contact center needs to adapt the skill set, the way they approach their daily task. Instead of extinction, I would say, how are we going to see better people adapting the way they cooperate with their customers? At the end, everything is around emotional intelligence, which I feel we are not close to cover that from an AI perspective. In terms of timeline, kind of tricky question, but I would say 10 to 20 years. In which we are going to see really a transformation of AI versus contact center agents.
So then this poses the question, we've talked about emotion come up, and AI is not quite capable of this yet. Do you think we're going to see agents very quickly have to maybe transform their skill set into maybe having more emotion, more empathy, and maybe be hired for some of these softer skills, Marianne, rather than some more technical, let's say, hard skills than they have been in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest challenges will come first and foremost is into recruitment. Who do we actually hire for our roles? Do we hire for skill, which we did for the last, 20, 30 years? Can they work a computer? Can they, when it started at the time, and that gives my age away, I'm sorry, but we hired, literally, does somebody have a functionality? Can they know about MS 365? Can they do all of that? That's gone. The question is, can the advisor actually distinguish whether or not a person is in need of help? What's going to happen to a vulnerable customer? If AI cannot detect that my customer is absolutely at the brink of living existence and has money problems, it's no use. So the advisor needs to be able to detect that. So what does that mean for recruitment? We clearly need to find a way of bringing this empathy and the ability to engage and to literally get into someone else's environment throughout the hiring process. Because that's not something you can learn in 3 months. Onboarding process, here is your training, and you go through, goodbye, make it happen now. They need to come with a certain level of emotional intelligence. And how do you detect that? To me, that is an important question that needs answering.
So then let's go to you, Oliver. How are you seeing the role of agents evolve at Telefonica, and especially with respect to sales, because this is obviously a critical aspect of Telefonica, and the role of AI moving forward?
In the moment, when I look at our training journey, we have about 3 weeks in some work types where you only have to learn how to work with our system, what must you do in the service, and only a small part for sales. We are working on a KI buddy for the agent, so that it is easier for the agent to find the right thing to solve the problem. And then we want to transcript in the conversation, and the KI body should look what is the right answer for the problem of the customer. When we can have this help for our agent, then they have more time for empathy, they can concentrate on sales, and they can find another conversation level to the customer. And that's why I think it's changing, i.e. will changing the work of the agent. And it's going from more technical to more emotional to sell something. We want that in every contact we sell the products of our company, because we need the touch points.
And so, Emmelie, at the Quality Group, are you starting to really look at who you're hiring, knowing that AI is going to come in and start doing some of these maybe level 1, level 2 tickets, for example?
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking way more into experienced people, but also like how they interact. So normally we do like case studies beforehand as well. So I needed to do that as well when I started, to do a case study to see how I would solve a problem on my own. And we're definitely looking into it. But the thing is, we don't have like upsells within customer service. So we're really just working on problem solving there. So, and there it's a bit easier to interact also with like fast cases with AI, but having the long ones with the agents itself. So we also notice that people still ask for real agents within chats or something. So it's definitely important who you hire and how they interact, and also have a specific skill set to really identify how the people feel, and also take this in mind, how you would interact with a person who's angry or sad or has like a personal issue. So I think that's super important.
And it's interesting you say you're starting to look at hiring people that are maybe a bit more mature, bring more life experience to the role, so they do have that empathy. They can be much more relatable to customers, and especially when they're frustrated. You know, this is really important.
For sure, but
I
it's
think-
also
Sorry.
super important to match your age group or the target group a bit more to understand it. So we have very different ones, since we have 2 different brands. So we're working with ESN and More Nutrition, and More Nutrition is like, for example, like an older age group. So it's good to have someone who's more in understand of that.
And I think this is where Hyundai really comes into its own, because the average age of our talents is around 35, if I'm correct. About around 40. So bringing lots of life experience, lots of great relationships and relatability to their roles. So I think as this transformation happens, the Hyundai talents are going to be really positioned to pick up this much more deeper emotional type of CX and selling as we go. Santiago, from you, anything to add to this section of the discussion on emotional intelligence and the, I guess, development of CX professionals?
Yeah, something we need to consider is that when the customer reaches a contact center agent, in most of the cases, they are already frustrated or angry because they have been waiting for a lot of time during the line, maybe ask for multiple data points throughout that long journey. And I always like to tell this story of my uncle in Colombia. This guy used to spend 20 to 25 minutes like fighting with his Telefonica company, and gets really frustrated to an agent and starts telling a lot of bad things and throwing a lot of bad emotions to this person. When I try to ask him, okay, what's your concern? Why are you acting like this? What he told me is the lack of personalization, of someone really understanding my issue, my concern throughout the journey, and then I need to try to over-explain again what's going on. So it's key to hire someone that at the end, using maybe the data points from the AI that can maybe predict the customer is frustrated, angry, feeling bad, can use that information to adapt the speech, the way they support, and start providing a better service when the customer arrives to them.
Makes sense. So taking that in mind, Marianne, what do we then need to do to, I guess, prepare agents for more AI integration moving forward into their role?
First and foremost, I think we need to take the fear away. The last thing I want people in the contact center to think is, I will not have a job anymore in 2 years' time or in 5 years' time, because that is not the case. What may well be the case is that people will be to a certain extent unsure where they fit in. And then it's my responsibility as their leader to identify the talent and move them along on the journey. If you go back to when the web came in, there was a massive big hype and everybody thought, well, I will not go to work anymore, everything happens online. That was kind of the view. We all know that didn't happen, but for some people, their job changed dramatically. And I think, well, we have the benefit today. We can look back and say, what did we do then? How did we move people along? How did we make sure that they still felt valued? How do we take the fear away of displacement? Professional displacement is a real thing. And it's something that people are worried about. And it's our responsibility, all of us in here, to consider and think about, what can I contribute to take the fear away, to identify the talent, and at the same time keep the people in my company, because I do not want to lose the knowledge, of course. I think that's where this needs to go.
So it's all about, from your perspective, keeping CX professionals, talents at Hyundai, informed about the process, what's happening, take them along on that AI journey. So I guess a lot of upskilling then would be required.
I would say upskilling and also empowerment. I mean, in all fairness, things go wrong, and things will go wrong here. But if we do not share the information, if we don't educate our people and then empower them to do things, then this is going nowhere. You're just always behind. But if you adapt that model, you will get ahead of the curve, and that's what we need to do.
So a question open to anyone else on the panel. Do you think that we're going to see CX professionals maybe upskilled in using AI more efficiently and more effectively, and using AI will become a core skill for agents in the near future?
I think so. For us, we're using a lot of macros just because it's fast, of course, to answer. But we already have implemented that the AI can rephrase the macros. So you're not as repetitive, especially since we have a lot of customers who are coming back. So, and for that, it's like a huge advantage also for the agents, but also for later on if the AI can give you some help on how to solve the issue or can already do some things in the background, so you just have to do the final answer. And also sometimes, I don't know how your customers are, but ours can be sometimes very heated. So I think it's nice to have someone who's giving you maybe an answer beforehand, because you get as an agent also frustrated with customers. And that can be also shown in answers sometimes, because there is an emotional relationship. So I think for that, it's super helpful.
Okay. Oliver?
I have nearly the same opinion as Emmelie. It must be useful for the agent and easy to use. What does it mean? We have a lot of pilots with KI. We make digitalization since 10 or 15 years. We have 80% of our contacts are self-serviced, digital. And in one pilot, we said, oh, we are very intelligent, we use a KI, and then we will give our talents, and I think 1,200 from younite are hearing what I'm saying, to give them the next best offer for this customer. Good idea. But nobody use this engine. Only 10 or 15% usage. And all the people come to me, you must use it. It is better, it's a great idea. And I told to my partners, hey, use this machine, it's KI, it's working well. They don't use it. Now we said, okay, we have to go to one partner with all the engineers. We will hear the conversation. We will understand what's going wrong. It was very easy. The agents told us, oh, the next best offer in 90% are 2 tariffs. For that I don't need a KI, because we have only 6 tariffs. So what I mean, you must find KI and a use case which gives the agent something more. When you have this, he will use it. And when he uses it, you only teach him how to work with the system. That's all.
So that's a great point. It has to be useful. It has to be useful and really help the CX professionals and agents, for them to want to get their fingers in, get their hands dirty and start to use it for the benefit of Telefonica. Santiago, what's happening? I don't want you to delve into your AI secrets at GetYourGuide, but maybe just tell me what GetYourGuide is doing, say, to prepare your talents for the changes that AI will bring.
Yeah, that's a good point. And before going there, I would like to touch one point from Marianne. Is all about this misinformation and terror that social media is creating with a lot of talents about losing their job because AI is coming and they are going to be replaced. And that's not like that 100%. This needs to come from the company strategy, from a scenario planning perspective, in which companies start preparing for different kinds of features of scenarios and start aligning their processes, their uses, what needs to happen to get to that point. And that's something similar to what GetYourGuide is doing so far. We have just started to really strengthen our sales force around the world, in US, in EU, and we are trying to get to a world-class level. And we are going to start using AI for coaching to understand what our customers are thinking, how can we anticipate for risk, churn. But that's coming from the strategy of the company, where they really want to go in a time span of 10, 20 years. And that's how the rest of the process are being deployed, instead of just launching a lot of ChatGPT extensions and OpenAI dashboards to create a lot of terror within the talents.
So we don't want to terrorise talents or any CX professionals. Marianne, let's now switch gear and talk about some of the ethical and legal considerations as AI starts to creep into the agent experience, the talent experience more and more. What do you think are some of those concerns that companies should be really mindful of when they're bringing AI and talents together for CX work?
I think here we have a real challenge, and the challenge is not new. Ethical challenges have always been in the contact center. I had once a customer phoning in telling my girl, I hope you are not blonde. This was such a dumb answer. A, she was blonde, and B, the answer was right. So this has always happened. But now where we have so much data, to really distinguish what I said earlier, is this a vulnerable customer? What does make a vulnerable customer? Or is there an opportunity, to Oliver's point, that I can give my customer that they may not know about, but they should know about? I think here it is a very fine line. There's also this question of, will the customer feel my answer is right, or will the customer think my answer is fake? And that's a complete different area that we need to look into. So keeping it human and keeping it honest, keeping it open, keeping it ethical by way of accent, for example, or origin, even down to gender, to me, that is a real challenge for AI.
So this comes really down to the level of personalisation that I think companies can get out of their AI before it even hits the customer. It also dovetails into what Professor De Roy was saying earlier on about how people interact with the AI and what they expect. You know, I think they expect a human-like interaction at the end of the day, and I guess a positive result. Oliver, is this something that's been spoken about at Telefonica, the ethical considerations of bringing AI into your organisation?
We have AI in many different fields. And when you look, there are so many possibilities for AI. And sometimes you think, oh, maybe AI doesn't work. Yesterday, some of my colleagues showed me a video, and it was built with an AI creator. And it's a small video, only 1 minute long, and we can bring it into the internet for self-service for our customers. It explains a special use case. This is very easy. We don't need people who are sitting next to us, and we don't need a camera. They can do it on the PC, and it's very easy. This is only a small part, and when you look to the next thing, AI is also translation. Translation is a very, very big thing. Now, some people will think, oh, we can translate and you get the service from India or somewhere. No, there you have the problem of the time it needs to translate. But when you think it on the other way, in Germany, we have a lot of people who are not speaking the German language. They maybe come from, for example, Afghanistan or from Turkey, and they don't speak. And always we have the problem when we have an agent in the shop or on the hotline who is speaking German and not the language of the customer. They have difficulties to understand. When we use AI to can speak with the customer in his language and we in our language, then we have a very good understanding, and it will have a potential for lucky customers and also for upsell. And so when you look at the pieces, what are possible with KI, you will find a lot of use cases where you can use KI. And it helps the customer, the agent, I spoke about the agent body before, and also the company.
Thanks, Oliver. So Now to Emmelie and Santiago. Marianne and Oliver discussed some of the ethical considerations that they're taking into account. What about issues like data security? Is this something that's come up in your organisations and the use of AI?
Of course, like data security is always like super huge, especially in Germany. So I lived the last 4 years in Sweden. There it's not. So there you can find out anything about anybody. You can Google me there and find my address. So it's totally different. But in Germany, for sure, it's super important to make sure that the AI can use data, but also has to ensure that it's not giving out too much or also request as much data as possible before they give out like sensitive information.
Okay. And Santiago, with GetYourGuide, you must have lots of wonderful data of people using your app. I know lots of people in this room use GetYourGuide on a regular basis. Same question to you. What's the consideration when it comes to data security and AI in GetYourGuide?
Yes, one of the pillars from both from the customer side and from the company perspective, because we have offices in multiple countries, so we need to deal with a lot of regulations, a lot of laws, and different ways of protecting customers' information. So yeah, that's definitely something we are already considering while implementing for customers and for the travelers as well.
Okay. I'm going to open the panel up to some questions very shortly. And I'm going to come to my friends at Telefonica to ask you guys, being salespeople and emotional selling, so get ready for that question. Before we do though, open up for questions, just let's get some actionable takeaways. So Marianne, from you first, what is a practical step companies should be doing now to prepare their talent community, their CX professionals, for the incoming AI apocalypse as it's going to impact their industry?
They should really allow their advisors, their people, to use the tools that are out there. I'm always astounded how many companies don't have a ChatGPT app on their desktop as a common tool. It's a starting point. Might not be your own, but it's a good starting point to get people used to it.
So for you, the simple message is start using something simple like ChatGPT as a tool, and help. It's just a tool to help you, not replace you. And I guess this goes back into your point before that we need to take people along for the journey, and that's a nice first step. Oliver, same question for you. What do you think companies should be doing now from your perspective?
It's the same. Open for IE and gives the tools to the employees. They will work with this. They find use cases to use it.
Emmelie?
Yeah, I would say the same. It's super important to train the agents how to use it, when to use it, but also train their skills so that they get more into second level and third level requests. So I think this is super important, and just don't be afraid. Just use it as a chance, more like a buddy system than anything else.
Santiago?
Yeah, basically the same, but companies should define the use cases in the short, medium, and long term, and start preparing the agents with resources, training, applications, and materials to start getting ahead the road with AI.
Perfect. I'm going to grab a microphone. I'll borrow yours. We started the conversation today talking about selling and the fact that emotion is so key when it comes to selling, and it's just not something that AI can do just yet. AI can't read, your face or your human emotions. It can't detect subtext or sarcasm. So this can actually be a bit of an impediment to selling. One of my Telefonica friends, is this something you've talked about when it comes to selling at Telefonica and how you're going to bring AI into your organisation? Martin, Ingmar?
Yeah.
How are you talking about AI within Telefonica? I mean, you use a lot of younite talents to grow your brand in the Netherlands, to drive sales, and let's be honest, younite's been quite successful helping you do that. As AI now becomes more pervasive, and as your sales guys at heart, where do you see emotion and AI and selling as it comes all together in the next couple of years?
I think AI, like also the panel discussion was, AI will really help the talents, but the emotional part is still the talent. So I think AI should make the life of the talents and the life of people easier, supporting it, but can't. The talent will not replace with AI for sales.
Super. Before we wrap up the panel discussion, AI apocalypse, our call center agents facing extinction. Any more questions? Yes.
Not a question, but more a comment. I think one perspective as I've listened to this, and I think it's been great, is that it solves a big problem in the CX space where talent a lot of times has really high turnover and burnout because of the frustration. I've always said it's a very difficult job to be on the phone and getting frustrated customers all day. So if they'll embrace AI and it makes that interaction experience better, I think it could solve one of the big problems, and that is we'll have less turnover and churn and more customer or more employee satisfaction with the talent, which is a plus for both the customers, because I think Marianne said it, you don't lose that experience doesn't go out the door because they're frustrated with always talking to upset people. And if AI can do a lot of that first stuff and take some of the basic stuff off the table and they get a more satisfied interaction, you'll have better retention of that talent, which is a plus for both customers and for the company.
100%. I think you've hit on another good point, that this then makes the work of talents much more interesting. They don't just have to do simple, boring things like update an address, but they get to do far more interesting projects within their organisations from a customer experience perspective. And again, it's going to keep them there longer. They're going to be more challenged. So wonderful. Any other questions? And if not, I'm going to say Marianne Rutz from Rutz Consulting, thank you very much. Oliver Dippel from Telefonica, thank you. Emmelie from the Quality Group, thank you very much. And Santiago from GetYourGuide, download the app. I get €1 for every new app download. Thank you very much for joining us on the panel discussion.